This week I bring you gameplay with one of my favourite decks, Green and Taxes. It's just like Death and Taxes but a lot more environmentally friendly. No animals were harmed in the making of this deck or this video, unless you include trouser snakes. It was bleeding by the end of it. Masturbation is only healthy the first dozen of times apparently. Once it starts spitting blood, you should probably stop. Now, before some of you wisecracking youngsters say in the comments below, but isn't this just hate bears, Vince? Let me explain. You're fucking wrong. My people prefer the term Death and Taxes. But aside from jokes like white vials matter, here's a brief history lesson. Death and Taxes is a port of a legacy deck of the same name, in which Mana Dinar was combined with Aether Vial and Flicker effects to really fuck with your opponent's plans. When ported to Modern, the Mana Dinar plan is a lot worse due to lack of wasteland, so I tend to get bogged down trying to be overly cute with Flicker Wisp and his pals and not really win anything. Hate Bears is similar in the fact that it's a white weenie strategy that will often use similar cards, like Arbiter, also known as Cat Jesus, and Thalia, etc, etc, etc. However, it was a deck built to combat the green-black mid-range decks and rock decks of the Modern format, earlier in the format's inception, by cards like Loxodon Smiter and Wiltleaf Liege. Essentially, the decks are two sides of the same coin, apart from one side is slightly trendier and preferred by hipsters. I'll let you guess which one. The reason we add green to the usually mono-white Death and Taxes deck, aside from the environmental message, microbeads are not okay, is for Noble Hierarch. It allows us to accelerate our blade splices and to flicker them early, creating a huge board presence. It also gives us access to strong and game-breaking sideboard cards such as Choke, as well as the option to play things like Collected Company if we fancy placing our fate in the hands of the magical gods and consigning ourselves to losing to variants. In game 1 I keep an average hand because Aether Vial makes all hands look better, even my father's blood-soaked ones after the sudden death of my mother. My opponent is playing blue, which is nice. I deploy Thalia and then a Hierarch off of a Vial and begin to beat down, much like my father did just before my mother's untimely demise. I draw into Displacer and then Flicker Wisp because the magic gods look fondly upon me this day. I set my phases to fun, and that's a Star Trek joke for those of you that don't know, and then we have some fun. We now know that he's on some form of Grixis deck, possibly Control. I decide that vialing in a Displacer at the end of turn is a bad idea in case of a turn 4 Anger of the Gods. However, when he casts Terminate on Thalia mid-combat, this suggests that a board wipe is absent from his hand. I vial in Displacer to flicker her and save her life. He is her knight in shining Eldrazi armour. Fucking hell. The militant feminists angry at my last video are not going to like that comment. Okay, here's a disclaimer. Thalia is a fucking badass, independent and a strong woman. She don't need no man to define her identity or role within this deck or society. Except, in this circumstance, she kind of needs interdimensional space monsters to save her shit. But he's kind of genderless, so the harmful element of the patriarchal assumption that I'm making is that Displacer is male, and the use of gender stereotypes to describe this interaction is kind of the problem. Fuck, I feel like I just learned something. Anyway, my opponent taps out to kill Thalia and blow up my Aether Vial with Colgan's command, and all the Displacers in the world can't save us from this, which was particularly brutal even when it cost him 4 fucking mana. I smack him upside the head for 4 points of Exalted Eldrazi beatdown and decide to deploy enough pressure to make sure I can kill him. I play Thalia number 2 and I play an Eternal Witness getting back Thalia number 1. In hindsight, playing Thalia and tech edging him with Blood Crypt would have given him a better line of play for us because it would have given him less lines and outs. However, deploying the Eternal Witness then sets us up for a Flicker Wisp to flicker the Witness to get something else back, like the Displacer or the Thalia if he kills it. He Snapcaster terminates after a fetch land, which is unfortunate for me. He kills Displacer, as he can tell Displacer plus Eternal Witness is going to be too much of a value engine even with a nearly empty bin. I again decide not to fuck around with his lands despite drawing a Mind Sense and go for the value-orientated line of flickering Eternal Witness to get back Displacer. I am blinded by greed. However, greed is good. Greed is good.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit.
My opponent respects this greed and concedes under the sheer weight of value presented on board. For sideboarding, I side into a Million Crusader with a decent beta through Tassiger and his ilk. Skoos comes in alongside 2 Rest in Peace to ruin Delve and Snappy Plans, and Evo Leap to outvalue his strong 1-for-1 removal gain, and Dramoka's command to combat Pyroclasm and Angle the God style effects. I keep the turn 3 Coco hand with 2 dorks in it and get spied on by Inquisition of Kozilek. He can't take company because of how quick Inquisition works, so he decides to take the Flicker Wisp. I like this guy, he respects the Wisp. I lead with a dork and the Inquisition's again taking my path to exile. I beat down with Exalted off of 2 dorks before he plays a rather big roadblock. Luckily I've drawn a second copy of Path because I'm a lucky bastard. He bolts one of my dorks and I get stuck without a 3rd land to cast Company. I play another Noble Dork, this is my 3rd Noble Dork now, before to get K commanded. I'm left feeling kinda sour. I end up discarding Collected Company to the K command as I want to keep the only castable card in my hand, which is a Blade Splicer. Naturally I draw into the 3rd fucking land because I discarded the Company. Like Schrödinger's fucking cat, we had Schrödinger's fucking land. It both existed in a quantum state of flux, both being there and not there on top of my library. It was only when I discarded the Company that the Magic Gods decided, fuck this guy, and solidified the fact that the land was on top of my deck. He snappy bolts my Golem away off my Blade Splicer, and we set into a grind that I don't feel like I can win without some strong top decks. We're looking for Eternal Witness, Collected Company, Displacer, Wisp, or Resto at this point. He gets to electrolyze our only 2 creatures to death, whilst we draw 3 more lands in a row, followed by a Rest in Peace. Rip feels like a little underwhelming at this time, but it comes down in time to disable the value side of the Goblin Dank Dwellers that he plays. So actually, all in all, quite good. We draw and play a Thalia, then we draw and play a Skoos. The non-bow with Rip is real, Skoos is just a fucking bear. I'm slowly dying to the menacing Goblin Dank Dwellers until an opportune Blade Splicer gives us a good amount of first striking blockers. There is a clock of sorts on the game because he has Ancestral Visions on suspend and will draw our opponent 3 cards shortly. Collected Company comes to the rescue, but as per variance it fucks us right in the shitter. I am bleeding, distressed and angry and feeling worthless and lacking in self-respect. I bet that Collected Company doesn't even call us in the morning after treating us so fucking roughly. I then get to rest on my Blade Splicer, which feels very good and gives us a clear clock in the air while a lot of first striking blockers on the ground. We get to triple block his Goblin Dank Dwellers with 3 first strikers, 2 tokens of Golems and a Thalia. Even a bolt to the Blade Splicers won't be too painful here. However, the first bolt does come, but wait, it's targeting our face. Oh no, not like this. He casts a second bolt, which also targets our face. Sometimes your opponent Ancestral Visions and draws the perfect assortment of burn to lose you the game. Game 3 comes around and I bring in the bolt-proof anti-snap Dank Dweller tech of Eidolon of Rhetoric and cut Skoos because with Rip, and he can function as copy number 3, but he can also just be a bear as seen in the last game. We keep a slow double Ghost Quarter hand with Arbiter, Splicer and Path. Cat Jesus gets terminated on sight. We make a Blade Splicer, the main game 1-for-1 with a perfectly timed K command in his main phase. He seems to have all the answers, just like my father when questioned heavily about the disappearance of my mother in the summer of '96. I play another Splicer and don't get wrecked immediately this time. We can't Wisp due to our lands. I contemplate quartering myself to get 2 white to play the Wisp, but if he has Mana Leak or something similar, we feel super bad at this, so we avoid it. Vial ticks up, Rip destroys his graveyard, and I feel like we are miles ahead of our opponent. He plays a blocker, we kill it and we hit him. He then casts Kalitas, followed by Anger of the Gods. It's the first one of the game. Luckily for us, the Exile Clause of Anger supersedes Kalitas' Exile Clause. I like to think this was a surprise to him, much like it was for me when my father was sent to jail for the murder of my mother in the winter of '97. We path Kalitas to get rid of him prior to Coco. Last thing we want to do with a shitload of fucking zombie tokens. We ambush his attackers with a rather underwhelming Coco. Sometimes when you play a shitload of bears, all you get is bears. When life gives you bears, you have to make Baronade! We also deploy a Surprise Displacer off of a Vial, and as we all know, Surprise Displacer is best Displacer. Our opponent then just gives up. We do have a Vial Flicker Wisp and Displacement activation on board when we untap, which should spell GG for the game, but he doesn't know about the Wisp. Maybe he's psychic, much like my father was when he came back in time in the summer of 2001 and asked me to go into the future with him to save the future of mankind. If you liked the video, then drop me a comment and let me know what you would like to see next, what decks you'd like to see me play, or what you would like to see me make jokes about. Like the video and subscribe, and maybe you can just drop me a comment telling me I'm a fucking sexist because I made one joke about duct tape. Fucking Jesus, god damn it!